After a busy opening day, Republican delegates from across the U.S. returned to Milwaukee's Fiserv Forum for Day 2 of the Republican National Convention, where the GOP adopted its 16-page platform, heavily influenced by the former President Donald Trump. Three of Trump's political rivals turned endorsers spoke at the Republican National Convention: Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy. They put up a display of unity in support of Trump 3 days after he survived an assassination attempt. Reports have emerged stating that the US Secret Service had increased security for Trump weeks ago after they learned of an Iranian plot to kill him. CNN reported that US authorities received intelligence on a plan by Tehran targeting the former president. Iran has rejected the report, though it said it would continue to pursue its legal case against Trump for the killing of General Qasem Soleimani. As per reports, there is no indication that the shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks was connected to the Iranian plan. The ongoing investigations into the assassination attempt on Donald Trump has reinforced the question: how did the shooter breach security at the rally? Footage showing signs of trouble were evident before shots rang out. Eyewitnesses present at the rally saw a man with a rifle and alerted the police and Secret Service agents beforehand. Investigators are trying to piece together how a 20-year-old with no military background managed to be a step ahead of Secret Service agents. He was able to fire 8 gunshots before being killed. The man did not appear to have any connection to the convention. Reports suggest Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump is trying to coax Kennedy out of the race for the White House. In a recording of a phone call made by Trump to Kennedy, Trump can be heard saying that they are way ahead of the guy, seemingly referring to Joe Biden. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. apologized after the video was posted online. He said he was taping with an in-house photographer when Trump had called and should have ordered the videographer to stop recording immediately. Lebanon's Hezbollah fired a barrage of rockets on Israel on Tuesday. The group has claimed responsibility for the assault, saying that it comes in retaliation to Israeli strikes that killed 5 people, including 3 Syrian children in southern Lebanon. As per Israeli media, at least 80 Hezbollah-launched rockets targeted different areas in northern Israel in 2 separate waves. While Israel's Iron Dome air defense system intercepted most of the rockets, some managed to damage buildings and infrastructure. A wildfire has also broken out at the Israel-Lebanon border following the crossfire. Israeli military claims it has eliminated half of the leadership of Hamas military wing since the beginning of the military operation in Gaza last year. The Israeli military says it has captured or eliminated nearly 14,000 Hamas fighters, including brigade commanders, battalion commanders, and company commanders. Israel's operation in Gaza continues despite mounting global pressure for a ceasefire. A Comorian-flagged oil tanker has capsized off Oman. A search is underway for its missing crew of 16. The Maritime Security Center, which is run by the Omani Defense Ministry, did not specify the cause of the capsize. The Maritime Security Center said that 13 Indian nationals and 3 Sri Lankans who made up the 16-member crew of the tanker Prestige Falcon were missing. It did not confirm whether the vessel had stabilized or whether oil or oil products were leaking into the sea. The Islamic State terrorist group has claimed the attack near a mosque in Oman's capital, Muscat. At least 9 people were killed and 30 others were injured. Islamic State said 3 of its fighters were behind the shootings that targeted Shias during Ashura rituals. The terrorists were gunned down by Omani security forces after the attack. Casualties include 4 Pakistanis and 1 Indian, along with a policeman. Nearly 700 people were stranded inside the mosque during the attack. The United States has expressed concern over the move by Pakistani government to ban former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party, stressing that Washington will keep an eye on the situation in the country with regard to upcoming decisions of the government and the courts. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, during the daily briefing at the White House, said this is the beginning of what will be a complex political process in Pakistan. He said that banning a political party is something that would be of great concern to the U.S., adding that Washington supports the peaceful upholding of constitutional and democratic principles, including respect for human rights and freedom of expression. U.S. Senator Bob Menendez has been found guilty on all charges in his corruption trial. The 16 criminal counts are tied to accepting bribery, including gold bars and a Mercedes-Benz in exchange for helping foreign governments. However, the senator continues to deny the charges. After a 9-week trial, a Manhattan federal court jury delivered Tuesday's verdict after 12 hours of deliberation. Menendez, who is the former head of Senate Foreign Relations Committee, will be sentenced on the 29th of October. Even though Senate rules do not require members to step down over felony convictions, over 31 Democratic senators till now have asked for Menendez to resign. The senator has not responded to the demands. In Bangladesh, at least 6 people have been killed and over 100 others are injured as violent anti-quota protests continue to rock the country. Deadly clashes were witnessed as demonstrators opposing quotas for coveted government jobs battled counter-protesters loyal to the ruling party. The government has ordered an indefinite nationwide closure of schools, colleges, Islamic seminaries and polytechnic institutes. One person died as a violent clash broke out between protesters and police in the southern outskirts of Nairobi. Police opened fire at thousands of protesters. Anti-government protests broke out in Kenya a month ago after government proposed a hike in taxes. Protests continue even after President William Ruto withdrew the legislation and fired multiple cabinet members. Protesters are demanding resignation of the president. At least 50 people have died during the protest. Probationary IAS officer Pooja Khedkar, who has been on the radar for her claims on disability as well as OBC certificates, has now been relieved from the district training program of State Government of Maharashtra. The National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, said Khedkar's district training program has been put on hold. It also added that the officer will be recalled for further necessary action. She has lodged a harassment complaint against Pune District Collector Suhas Diwase. The 10th Muharram procession is set to take place in Srinagar today. It is likely that Jammu and Kashmir's Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha will be joining today. Thousands are expected to take part in the Muharram session. Authorities have made special arrangements for security, healthcare and refreshments. Sri Lanka's Election Commission will be declaring the timeline for the country's presidential election by July end. The Commission added that several election-related documents were handed over. Finance Ministry officials and members of the Election Commission are meeting on Wednesday to decide on elections. The estimated cost for the presidential election is pegged at almost $33 million. Parts of Central and Eastern Europe are in the grip of scorching heat, with mercury hitting the 40 degrees Celsius mark. Greece has ordered companies not to ask their employees to perform outdoor duties in later hours of the day. Hundreds of incidents of wildfires have been reported across Europe due to extreme heat. Meteorologists warn that temperatures won't ease before the end of the month. Torrential rains have caused flash floods in Canada's financial capital, Toronto. Emergency services jumped into action to rescue people stranded in vehicles. Authorities have cautioned residents against driving or walking near water bodies. The flooding led to power outages, disrupting traffic and flight cancellations. According to a report from the city's power company, more than 165,000 customers were left without power. Flooding at a transmission center was reportedly the reason for the power outage. The International Monetary Fund has issued a warning about the sluggish cooling of inflation in most major nations. This is likely to pose a threat to the global economy if interest rates remain high for an extended period. The prominent Washington-based lender focused on persistent services inflation, primarily caused by increasing wages, in an updated version of its World Economic Outlook. Additionally, the fund indicated that commodities like oil were facing price pressures due to trade and geopolitical conflicts. Still, the IMF anticipates only a soft landing for the world economy as a worst-case scenario. The Bank of Canada will have more room to cut interest rates next week due to the slowdown in inflation in Canada. The annual rate of increase for the Consumer Price Index slowed to 2.7% in June from 2.9% in May. Canada's headline annual inflation rate has remained under the central bank's target range for 6 consecutive months, returning to its lowest level since early 2021. Tuesday's data suggests that the BOC is likely to rest easy, knowing that the spike in prices in May was just transitory and that annual inflation should still hit its 2% target by the end of next year. Consumer confidence appears to have recovered by the end of the June quarter. US retail sales, excluding the effects of a Cybertruck on car dealerships, increased by the highest in 3 months in June. A 2% decline in sales at car dealerships held down overall retail sales, which remained flat. A separate report showed rising interest rates dampened sales, leading US home builders to lose confidence for a third consecutive month in July. One bright spot in the otherwise gloomy housing report was a measure of sales forecasts for the next 6 months, which rose for the first time since March. Investor confidence in Germany's economy took a turn for the first time in a year. This comes even as the manufacturing industry lags other sectors' slow but steady recovery. The Bundesbank said the largest economy in Europe is regaining its footing, but the recovery will be gradual. Manufacturers' persistent gloom is to blame for the slow performance. Recent numbers for industrial production and factory orders were disheartening. Bloomberg Economics reckons German industry may have suffered a permanent hit. In the sectors where Prime Minister Keir Starmer has pledged to get Britain building again, there is a severe lack of qualified people, with a shortage of construction workers, solar panel installers and engineers plaguing the United Kingdom. Many are wondering how Starmer plans to fulfill his goal of significantly increasing sustainable electricity generation and constructing 1.5 million houses in the next 5 years. The magnitude of the shortages implies that the Labour Party will delay initial attempts to increase training in critical areas despite their promise. The construction workforce in the UK has also seen a fall of around 14% over the last 5 years. Amazon's Prime Day sales event has been a major cause of injuries for warehouse workers. This is according to a report released by US Senator Bernie Sanders. The report is based on a year-long Senate committee investigation into Amazon's safety practices. As per the report, peak shopping times, including the holiday shopping period, have resulted in the highest weekly injury rates for warehouse workers. Self-proclaimed Bitcoin inventor Craig Wright is facing a criminal investigation in Britain. It's alleged Wright repeatedly lied and forged documents to support his false claim of inventing Bitcoin. It has been ruled that Wright's case would now be referred to Britain's Crown Prosecution Service, which will consider whether Wright should be prosecuted for perjury and forgery of documents. Russian antivirus software maker Kaspersky Labs will wind down its US operations from July 20th. This follows the Biden administration's plans to ban sales of the company's products in the country. The US government has cited security risks posed by Russian government's influence on the cybersecurity company. The new US restrictions starting September 29th will ban downloads, resales and licensing of Kaspersky products. Intelligent humanoid robots are now working as bank lobby managers in China's Shanghai. The robots have human-like bodies and movements and use artificial intelligence for vision, hearing and voice. Engineers have trained these robots for tasks like customer consulting, business